Welcome to Kick 'em in the Head, a podcast that takes an inside look at the world of mixed martial arts, featuring interviews with some of the top fighters from South Africa and around the world, with a focus on the EFC and UFC promotions. I'm your host, Yaw. Join us as we delve deep into the techniques, strategies, and mindsets of these world-class athletes, learning from their experiences and gaining insights into what it takes to succeed in the toughest sport on earth. Shaheed.
My man Yaw, I look like I'm frozen because I am excited. I'm so excited right now, man. We are speaking to the big man himself. Not a fighter, but a man that is the vice president of MMA SA. The man that is president of KZN MMA. Oh my word, Yaw, give some other acclaims. The official man himself. You know what I'm saying? Please introduce who we're speaking to today.
Today we are speaking to the illustrious, the very, very, very strict, not always, he always gets it right in my opinion, professional referee, Preggy Valuyathum. Preggy, welcome to the Kick 'em in the Head podcast.
Hey, gentlemen.
Preggy.
How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
We
Absolutely
are so good to have you,
We're
man.
so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here as well. Thank you.
So, Preggy, we've been having lots of chats with you at the EFC. We've seen you reffing some very tough fights. I think you and I usually have a chat after a few fights about how the fight went and all that you do in the ring. But I think tell us more about how you got into MMA reffing and where this passion for MMA or being an MMA referee comes from.
Thank you. So, MMA refereeing, I started doing combat sports actually most of my life. So, like through kickboxing, karate, and then we evolved into MMA those years. And way back then, there were very minimum officials, and also the interpretation of the rules were questionable, and people saw it differently. And then, especially in terms of clubs and things like that, so they didn't really understand the rules completely. And I was training with a team in KZN with Sensei Ryan, and he suggested a couple of us go and get the officials course done and get involved, because at the time there were lots of fighters in the club, and they believed that they were always getting shortchanged at the events with the judging or the reffing that's not up to standard, and there were questions. And short of understanding the rule sets, we couldn't debate it because we didn't know better. So he said, listen, go do the course, get involved, and then we can have something to say, because it's pointless not knowing the rules, not having representatives in there and learning to complain. So I went, I did the course. The course I did with Ferdy Baswan, that's the current MMA SA president.
Yes.
I've done courses, maybe the same. It's based on the unified rules. I've done courses maybe about 8 to 10 times the same course, but it's always good, because what happens is each time you do it, you get different people attending, and they pose different scenarios, and then you look at things differently. So I've done course with Mark Goddard, and then most of them were with Ferdy himself, Mark Delafield. He was KZN chairman at the time as well.
Wow.
And so over the years, you just keep on learning.
That's beautiful. Preggy, you were talking about, before the interview started, you were talking about the youth in MMA and breaking down for us the age brackets before you get into the professional scene. Can you just go through that again for us, for the people at home?
Absolutely, I can. So MMA youth category C, which is 12 to 13 years old. Then there's category B, which is 14 to 15, and category A, which is 16 to 17 up to 18. Then after that, it's junior, which is 18 to 20 up to 21. and then seniors from 21 upwards. So basically, once you finish junior, so if you're that age, you'll transition to the different categories. So each of those categories have similar rule sets, but based on the age, there's safety aspects in the rule sets to accommodate for that age group. For example, like a you'd see there's no striking to the head or face at all.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. You'd see now, this is your 12 to 13 up to 14. And,
Yeah.
the reason I actually brought this up in the pre-interview was for us to understand that MMA is not about our perception of the pros where everyone's trying to take everyone's head off. It's a sport and it's a thinking sport as well. I mean, there's a lot of skills involved. And what happens, we get guys coming in at 18, 19, decide they want to be an athlete. Whereas in other countries, you've got children, in fact, even from 10 years old, practicing already now with the wrestling and grappling. But let me get back to the discussion. Striking with the knees of any fashion, there's no knees, no elbows, no heel hooks, no wrist locks. This is all the UFC. I'll just go through the UFC. And then there's no striking on the ground at all for UFC. And then most of the leg submissions as well is not permitted.
Yeah, because you can blow out a knee, your ankle. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah,
and I'll just give you an overview, especially like even when we're reffing these fights. Once a submission is on for youth, or most of the youth, we're not going to let the guy tap out. If you're convinced that the submission is on, the athlete cannot get out, you will stop that fight. And the pure reason for that is the safety of the athlete.
Yes, of course.
So unlike pros where they have to tap out or they have to get knocked out or tap or snap, absolutely not the case for youth. I rather call.
I think that's quite interesting because, like you're saying, a lot of us fans, enthusiasts, and people who watch MMA, we want the refs to wait until someone's almost dead. But your job is first and foremost safety. So I like hearing how the safety is very specifically looked after at the youth level, because it's quite important to start understanding safety there, not just as a fighter, but also as the ref, and making sure that you're always keeping the fighter safe. Because if the fighter gets badly injured or, heck, God forbid, dies, then not only is it on the ref as well, but also it's not something that we want to then see as fans either way.
No, especially for the sport as well. Going back to the pro situation, I mean, if you're in a submission or you're in an armbar and you don't want to tap, we just have to let it go.
It's on you.
I mean, it's on him. Because he's I mean, especially as well, like for a pro situation as well, if you call a fight that the guy is not tapping, and you know the submission is on, you can turn that entire result out. A lot of the times, the guy will be in that submission for like an entire 30 seconds up to a minute, and nothing happens. And sometimes he just puts it for 5 seconds and it snaps. So unless he's comfortable enough to tap for that submission, I'm not going to stop them on a pro.
Can we talk about that pressure that you just mentioned? How does it feel knowing that you have the ability to change the outcome of a fight? Does it ever factor into your mind, or are you just a complete observer watching what's going on and trying to make it a completely fair landscape?
As a referee, we also touched, Yaw and I touched on this a lot at the EFC. The last thing you want to do is impact the fight. All I'm doing as a referee is observing and making sure they adhere to the rules and they're both safe. If they're safe and they adhere to the rules, I'll just stand by and let the fight go on. The minute now I said, like, if you keep interfering with them, you mess up their entire fight game. I mean, so if they're following the rules, just stay in the position where you can see the impact, the engagement, let it go. So you cannot at any cost interfere with the fight if it's going according to the rules. You shouldn't. So if they're in line with the rules, you carry on. Let them go for it.
We see referees. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say, with what you said about niggling with the fighters, we see referees, especially in the international scene, pulling fighters up off the ground, putting them in a standing position when maybe they feel a fight is maybe being boring. Is that something that you are told about, or is that just an international thing?
No, it's not. So basically, in terms of picking up a fighter from the ground, if there's inactivity and you've asked them to be active and they're not in that position on the ground, you'll stand them up. So you give them a warning, guys, please be active. Nothing happening. So basically, if I'm in your guard or on mountain or something, and you're just lying there, nothing is happening. Neither of you. I mean, he's not making an effort to maybe he's just holding you down, and you're not making any submission attempts, or you're not striking. There's no activity. So the reset position is stand up and start again. So that happens. It's not because it's boring or nothing. It's the fact that no activity is taking place.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
you muted, yeah.
Go for it. Go for it.
So Preggy, just on fighters' safety, is there anything that these fighters, in a sense, okay, we're in a gym, right? Where we're sparring. Is there anything that me as a practitioner, as an enthusiast, should be doing in a gym to make sure that I and my partner is safe?
Definitely, you need the correct gear. I mean, in the gym sparring, always have a gum guard. Always have a gum guard. And then usually at gym, you don't use the 6-ounce gloves. You probably use a boxing glove or bigger glove. And also when you're sparring, it's to develop each other. And depends on your level of intensity and who you're sparring with. You will give the same related pressure or the strikes. So, I mean, it's like if you come in as a novice, I need to respect you, especially if I'm a senior, not strike too hard. Generally, when I practice, are you guys there?
Yes.
With the youth and junior and stuff, I say, guys, just imagine we're playing tag. So it's not where I'm going to strike you and be scared now, because when you're a novice, you're like nervous and you're tense. So if you're playing tag, you throw your punch or you attempt something, it's fun. And then as you get more experience and you understand your training partner, then you can agree on that. So basically, it's to agree with your training partner on what you really want to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You were talking about women in combat sports and training. Do you have any advice for ladies that might be intimidated? Because as a person that has been in the sport for a very long time and been so close in male fights and female fights, is there anything that you can say for the ladies to inspire confidence in them to maybe do some MMA or combat sports or jiu-jitsu?
This is outside ladies, not ladies that are in the sport.
No, outside. For sure. Enthusiasts.
So my daughter trains. I've got lots of female friends that train, and you don't see them as a female anymore. They a training colleague or a fellow gym person. So it's not like where you discriminate and say, hey, you're a female and you're a guy, because some of these women will hurt you. And I'm putting it bluntly. I mean, I know lots of my colleagues and friends that train. They're dangerous women. And
amen
if
to
you're
that.
out there, apart from your fingernails that's going to get damaged when you train, the long nails, it's fun. You learn a lot, and you learn to protect yourself. And you'll be confident as a female to get involved with jiu-jitsu, MMA, it makes you totally self-reliant. You don't need somebody to come and save you. You can save yourself. And size does not count.
I think,
I mean, as a female, if you're attacked by a bigger guy and stuff like that with jiu-jitsu and MMA, you got no chance in hell.
There's a Brazilian fighter, Viana, who actually was being mugged. I think it was 2018. Was being mugged in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and she beat her assailant to a bloody pulp. And I think she's literally been trending for 5 years because she was an MMA practitioner who managed to use her MMA in the real world to actually defend herself against someone who was attempting to rob her. So, like you're saying, some of these women are actually very dangerous and actually use the skills, or you can use the skills that you learn in the gym, in practice, to actually go out there and defend yourself in real life.
100%. And they still keep their femininity, unlike bodybuilding and stuff like that, other sports where you start getting muscular and stuff. With MMA, you still, as a female, you're the same person with all the skills.
Coming back to the... Oh, go for it.
Yes, go, yeah. Go for it, yeah. No, sorry, I think I've been cutting you off the whole time. Go for it.
Coming back to the hex, where it comes to controversial decisions. So obviously you're in the middle of two guys squaring off against each other. And at some point in some fights, you have to make the decision that maybe the audience or TV or whoever else is watching that's not you might not be happy with, or even a fighter. How do you deal with controversial decisions or criticism from fighters, fans, heck, the media, people like us, where there's a decision that you're firm about, say, look, I was there, I was in the hex, I know exactly what went wrong, and that's why I stopped this fight, or whatever the case is. How do you handle those sorts of decisions and then the criticism that comes after?
Unfortunately, no matter what you do, there'll be criticism for any decision you make from either side. You have to stick by your decision and make sure that you're fair, and whatever you do, you're doing it for the interest of the athletes. And generally, as a referee, the decision you will be posed with is calling a fight. Generally, if you have to call a fight because of like a TKO situation, or you call a DQ or no contest or something like that, it's horrible, but it's warranted based on the scenario. I mean, like a TKO, for example, if somebody is getting bashed and not defending themselves, but just barely standing, you have to look out for his well-being. You're not calling this because we're going to be favor the other guy or something. It has to be totally in the interest of the well-being of the athlete. That is the reason. And critics can critique.
Exactly. We saw with the last Kulikani Hlongwa fight, the illegal low blow. I would just love to see, from a ref's point of view, what happens when something like that happens. How do you assess it? How do you what happens?
See, with regards to a low blow, you can't validate it.
Yeah, man. I was standing right there.
So the problem is, if he says he's got a low blow, he got a low blow. I mean, even if you look at the footage of that fight, you wonder, like, hey, was that really a low blow? I mean, and then on the other side is, I mean, you can even flick someone on the groin and he's gone.
It's sore. It's very sore.
I think coupled with adrenaline and the shot in the groin, it becomes very sore. But ultimately, in terms of a low blow, that's one thing we have to just take the athlete's word for it, because no one can, not even the doctor can say.
Yeah. So
that's a tough one. But other type of injuries, then we can check and then we can release the athletes. And always, if there's an incident or an injury that's substantial, you have to give them a minute and a bit, or a reasonable amount of time. Generally, so if there's any kind of injury, you have up to 5 minutes to recover. So if it's a low blow, you have up to 5 minutes, or eye poke or something. So what happens is, you give him maybe a minute and a bit. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, just clear your eyes. Or like with the low blow, he'll just walk himself off or whatever. And then if he's still not okay, then you ask him, do you want me to call the doctor in? If I do call the doctor in and you're not fit to fight, this fight is over. That's ultimately it. Yeah. So sometimes a lot of them cry wolf. A lot of the cases, not everybody, but it happens where the athletes cry wolf, and then they hope to get advantages, or they sometimes even look for the DQ from that injury because it's an easy win. But that's ultimately for the referee's decision now to make if it's a DQ or if it's a no contest, or on the latter round if the leading fighter will if the fight gets called and it's like 2 out of 3 rounds, the winner of the 2 out of 3 will go on to win. But ultimately, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. It's a referee. Referee will decide on how to go with that forward.
Okay. And go.
So, with everything that you've mentioned, it's clear that you've been in MMA for a while and reffing for a while. Across that career, what are the biggest challenges that you've actually faced, and what are some of the highlights? Because with an extensive career like yours, like Shahid just mentioned, you get caught in positions where you've got someone who's now, well, what we perceive at least to be faking a groin injury. You've got all kinds of things that happen. But what have been your biggest challenges, right? And what have been the biggest highlights whilst being an MMA referee?
Hey, challenges. I can't really think of offhand, but I mean every fight is a challenge. I think the big one is it's the nerves. I mean, as an official, you have to stay calm all the time. And every time you're in a new environment or a new promotion or an event, you have to wonder, am I doing this right? Am I, if I mess up or not? It comes to mind. But as you get used to it and you start settling them, I think I suppose that's the challenge. It's just to make sure you know the rules, make sure you treat the athletes fairly, and make sure you're in the right position. Sometimes, like even challenge, but sometimes you end up in the wrong position and you get caught between the fighters and stuff like that. So that is challenging, or trip and fall in the case, things like that. So that's about it. Just making sure that you apply the rules correctly, and then you don't fall, you don't get knocked out. I mean, one of my colleagues got knocked. Actually, 2 of them.
Wow.
2 of them got knocked out.
Tell that story.
One in EFC and one international.
Wow.
Wait, with that said, have you ever been touched, coming close to knocked out, pushed something by a fighter in the ring?
I think I might have caught the tip of someone's foot, but that was my own fault because I was just standing too close some time ago, but I haven't been knocked out.
Okay. At least, right?
I just have to ask. Yeah, at least. Is it intimidating? We see some of these guys like Boydka is a big man. Is it ever intimidating to stand in there with the bigger guys and ref like a heavyweight fight?
Never.
Is it not at all? Wow, I'd be so intimidated. I'm not even gonna lie.
Not at all. I mean,
wow, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's never intimidating. I've never felt intimidated inside the cage.
Wow.
And also you're there to look out for them. It's not like you're fighting them. Yeah,
of course. But
which is
I guess
the important thing.
Yeah, but I think it's the impact that we see these people as. I mean, you get to see them as basically you're kind of a dad in there. You know what I mean? You got these 2 kids, and you're gonna make sure everybody's okay and everybody's not getting hurt. And we see them as these warriors, these athletes, and it's such a different mindset change. And
absolutely.
You were speaking about the international space. Can you give us some insights into your reffing internationally?
Yeah, sure. So we were fortunate enough to be selected to to perform with IMF or to officiate in IMF. IMF is the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation. It's the only amateur federation recognized throughout the world. And so they generally host continental tournaments, and that goes into the World Championships for youth as well as seniors. There's one actually coming up now from the 19th to the 27th of November. We're going to go up to Albania for that. I've been to Bahrain, I've been to Abu Dhabi a couple of times, I've been to Serbia, and so we're going to participate. And then the competition there is over 5 days. I average, there's about like up to 70 fights a day in a cage, and you average reffing at least about 15 of them each in a day. It's extremely strenuous, but it's a lot of fun because you get fought out. I mean, you see everything. You see athletes from all over the world, and I promise you, the quality of the youth athletes is mind-blowing. They are, in fact, I've seen more better youth athletes in the world amateur tournaments than some of the pro athletes. They are phenomenal. These guys are training like from kids. I mean, the Russians and Ukrainians and all of that, they're training from time they're children. I mean, their skill sets is phenomenal.
Preggy,
just very quickly. I think it goes back. To what you were saying earlier about how in other countries they start from a much younger age. And it's very important to start at a young age, because then when you get to that level, like you said, those kids have been training since they were youth, and they show the skills that are exhibited when you've been training for that long. So it's quite interesting to hear that that's exactly what you see at the international level. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Shahid, you can go.
It was just a quick one. I was so enthused by your international travels. How does an average Joe get involved and become a ref and get these sorts of opportunities? That a guy that loves MMA, a guy that's watching right now, how does he become a ref like you? How does he become the next Preggy?
I still got a long way to go, guys. I mean, even to where I got to now, I mean, I'm here like, I think, just say about 16 years, thereabout, being an official. And I just wanted to be a part of the fights. And it doesn't matter the local gym tournament or your provincial tournament. It takes time. And ultimately, how you interpret the rules correctly depends on how far you go. If you can understand the rules and apply them in your scenario exactly how it was drawn out, you'll go anywhere. You have to be confident. That's it. It's easy as that. The problem is the prep to it. So you have to have a combat sports background. You need to know all the submissions. You need to know all the rules. And I mean, the course is one thing, but I mean, stepping in the cage is terrifying.
As a fighter,
it takes a lot of guts.
I can't express myself except profanity because I mean, if you go into the cage, and I mean, you mentioned that, you can just be intimidated by an athlete like Boyka and stuff like that. Yes. But generally, I mean, sometimes you don't know the energy the athletes are bringing in. I mean, they might be swinging for the hills, and you in between there, and you're scared that you might trip on one of them, or people are shouting at you while you're the referee. You have to blank all of that off. So when you're in the cage, your key focus is these two athletes and nobody else, nothing else, because the crowd will boo. They pick on you. They pick on the athletes. You can trip and fall.
Easily sometimes.
I mean, things like that happen. But you just have to. Your focus is the minute you walk into the cage, the door is closed. All you have to worry about is those athletes. And why I'm saying this is, even if it's a tournament in your local, like your dojo tournament or your grassroots and stuff, and then also when I started as well, I spent a lot of time with like amateur novice tournaments where I had to go and spend like hours and hours and hours reffing the local dojo tournaments. And I found it fun, and I constantly learned. I mean, I told you how many times I did the course, and then also keeping in close ties with your colleagues. We got like colleagues from all over the world. I mean, I got, I always tease and say, listen, I got friends everywhere. I just have to phone someone in Australia or New Zealand, America, and ask a stupid question about reffing or judging or whatever. And they'll give me an answer. And that's a comfort I have because of the association that I can refer to my peers. And if you got that, and then you're constantly sharpening your skills, because you can't just expect to go for one course and decide, hey, now I want to become an EFC or UFC or whatever. It's not going to happen. You have to put your time in the cage. I mean, I lost track of how many fights I reffed. And every fight that you do ref, it's different, totally different scenario. I mean, no fight is the same. So the application is different and interpretation is different. So you just have to just go with it. And if you're passionate enough, you have to keep working. And then obviously you need to be around, be seen in all the other events. Like, I mean, I'm from KZN. So I come to Gauteng a lot. I mean, for EFC. I come for the amateur tournaments when they are. I went to Emma. So a lot of the tournaments is Gauteng. There's tournaments in PE. So wherever there's an opportunity, and by the way, guys, there's not much money as an official. Amateur doesn't really get paid. And then EFC is only pro promotion. So you can't do this because you want to get money. It's because you love the sport. This is my version of fishing. So I'm passionate about it. And like if there's tournaments in Joburg and stuff like that, pay for my ticket and I get up there. No one's going to invite you and pay for your trip to get there. And the fact that I've done that, I had the opportunity to rub shoulders with the different promotions, be familiar with them, get more cage time. Because I mean, in KZN as well, there's a tournament every 2 months only, and it's an amateur tournament. Whereas in Gauteng it's different, in Cape Town it's different. Like EFC is like every month, and then there's other amateur tournaments, and then also MMA SA hosts amateur tournaments like annual nationals and provincial and all of that, which we're also involved in. So the more opportunities you get to be a part of an event, good for you. And then also with regards to being in an event or being a part of the event, you're not always going to get a chance to ref. I mean, there's pat down guy, there's judges, there's backstage manager. You have to grab whatever you grab, and then when the opportunity comes, you be a ref. So you can't just say, no, I'm just going to ref only. I mean, even if you're mopping the cage, it's serving that tournament for whatever reason they need.
Love that.
So, yeah.
I really, really love that.
Work up from the bottom to the position you want within the MMA space. Yeah, definitely a good message.
Yes.
Can I pause for 1 second? I just want to get this call, man. I don't know if I can mute.
So, Preggy, I just wanted to ask you, what is your biggest MMA dream? Like, if you could do anything as a ref, maybe even as an athlete, if you aspired, what is your biggest MMA dream?
Yeah, I'd like to participate in international pro events. I think that's awesome. I just like traveling and being in different countries, different promotions. And because it's like you get more opportunity to see better skill sets, different skill sets. So yeah, just being in different promotions. I mean, whichever international promotion I get an opportunity for, I would love to grab it with two hands.
We would love to see you rubbing shoulders with Herb Dean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I'm close to Mark Goddard. He's also a good mentor to me, and I rub shoulders with him. So
that's awesome.
And he's an awesome guy. He's one of the most skilled officials I've ever met, and he's a very close mentor and friend to us as well.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful. It's great to hear that the referees in the space tend to look after each other, provide mentorship where they can, help other refs where they can, because it's one of those spaces where, like you said, as a ref, you're always learning. You might have a call, you call another ref and say, listen, this happened, and they would give you the best advice. They will be best placed to give you the right advice in such situations. So it's very good to hear that as referees, you guys, to some extent, do definitely have good camaraderie and learn from each other and consistently learn from each other.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to learn. Also, after each fight, you always cross-check with your peers. How did I do? Were there any concerns? What could I have done better? Did I mess up anywhere? And generally, sometimes you do, and then, okay, thank you, noted. I'll look at it for the next time. So you have to constantly benchmark against your colleagues and check for support. When you become too proud, then you mess up.
That's quite true.
So, Preggy, I've just got one more question for you. In the EFC, we know that you're a quite a big player in MMA SA, being the vice president, in KZN MMA. Do you have plans to maybe move further into the EFC space, maybe becoming one of the matchmakers yourself, maybe looking at playing a bigger part as the EFC, maybe training more refs, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. Ref training is ongoing, and if anyone needs help, we can help them. I actually love doing what I do. I'm comfortable being an official. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, no, I didn't find interest in matchmaking and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we love to see what you do, and we love that you have such a passion for MMA. I think people like you are the reason why South African MMA is doing so well. The guys behind the scenes, the people we don't actually give enough praise to, because without you, a fight can't happen. It's just as paramount as the fighters themselves. And we just give you a huge thank you. And thank you so much for your passion, for your love of MMA, and thank you for coming on to our show. We just appreciate you so much.
Hey, thank you for having me. I mean, I told you guys I appreciate you guys so much. I mean, you put a different spin on MMA commentary and stuff. So, and I mean, your topics are nice and apt and relative and actually sharing information. I'm happy that I was able to share my thoughts and my knowledge with you guys, and I am grateful for the opportunity.
Thanks so much, Preggy. I think speaking about sharing more knowledge, where can people find you? Can you please share with us your social media handles, and where anyone who, whether they're interested in reffing or just interested in chatting to you, reaching out to you, where they can find you?
Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'm a bit on Instagram, but I'm not really active. I just have the platform just to follow my friends. So I don't really post much, but generally on Facebook, you can get me.
Amazing. Preggy, thank you so much. If you do have a final message to anyone listening to the podcast, please, you can definitely send out the message now.
I'm good. Thank you for having me, guys. And yeah, guys, I hope you all enjoyed what I have to share.
Cheers. Definitely. And we're certainly looking forward to speaking to you again.
And Yaw, what do you think the best way to end an interview is?
Shahid?
I don't know, man. Kick him in the head! Woo, baby! Love it!
Preggy, do you mind if we get a nice, big, loud kick him in the head from you?
I'm saying it one time only, yeah?
We're happy.
Please.
Kick him in the head!
Woo, baby!
Perfect. Preggy Valuyathum, thank you so much for all your advice and all your insight into refereeing, and we will be speaking to you again sometime very soon.
Thank you.
Yes,
Take care, guys.
Thank you.